ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे। ओम श्री हयग्रीवाय नमः। ओम श्री वल्लभा समेत श्री महागणाधिपतये नमः। We were in the topic anubhutehe nityatva-upapattih. The anubhava or experience is said to be anitya by the Vishishtadvaitins. We are arguing against that. Now, in this context, the latest argument was with reference to what Sudarshanacharya had said. So, Sudarshanacharya had said that Iyantam kalam na kinchidaham avedisham iti suptotitha paramarshena jnana samanya abhava gocharena tadantargata swa abhavaha api swenaiva grihitaha iti praga abhava siddhihi anubhavasya. So, he is saying that anubhava has praga abhava. Why? Because I get up from sleep and say that I did not know anything. That is a samanya ajnana, correct? I did not know anything at all. And in that I did not know myself also. Therefore, I know my own anubhava abhava also from that, correct? When you say I did not know anything, I did not know myself also. Therefore, anubhava pragabhava is there for me. And this, Bellangonda says this has been already negated by me, condemned by me. But again, I am going to show you this because buddhi saukaryaya and all, he says buddhi saulabhyaya. And in this context, again, the argument started with reference to the jnana dravyam. So the Vishishtadvaitins talk about dharmi bhuta jnanam and dharma bhuta jnanam. Dharmi bhuta jnanam is the jnana dravyam according to them. And then why do you even call it as jnana? Because it is anugunyam and all, they say. It is actually facilitating the Vishaya Jnanam, whatever Jnanam, the Dharmabhuta Jnana which is taking place, whatever they call as Dharmabhuta Jnana is really the Vritti Jnanam. So, the Jnana Dravya facilitates that, but they also have something called Jnana Dravyam, which is Nityam. So, by this Sudarshana and Vishishtadvaitins only, it is accepted that there is a Nitya Jnana Dravyam and the Avastha, but it undergoes different Avastha like Smriti and even any pratyaksha, all these things, correct? Cognition and memory, like even the mrid undergoes avasthas like ghata, sharava, etc. Therefore, the avasthas are anitya, but the dravya itself is nitya, is what their contention is. Similarly, what we say is the jnana samanya also should be nitya. The samanya jnanam is there. What we say is in Shushupti, only the Vishishta or Vishesha jnanam is not there. Okay. So the Vishesha jnanam is not there, but Samanya jnana is always there and it has to be taken as Nitya only. And that Samanya jnana is the one which is devoid of any memory or any other perception of any object. Even though objective consciousness is not there, consciousness as it is there. And that jnana Samanya only gets specific object cognitions in waking and dream, etc. So that being the case, how can it be not nitya? Okay. Okay. Evam sati katam tasya nityasya jnana samanyasya abhavaha. So this jnana samanya which is nitya, how can it be abhava in the sleep? It has to be there. And if it is nitya, then it cannot have any abhava pratiyogi also. Therefore, you cannot talk about anubhavasya pragabhava and all that. So up to this point, I think we saw in the previous class. Now, apicha yadi suptau jnana samanyamapi nasti tarhi darshita paramarshaha eva na jayeta. So if if in sleep the jnana samanya also is not there, then they cannot even recollect it, because how can you recollect something which you have not even experienced? So that is what we say. This pragapsvapsamiti prabodha samaye yah pratyabhijnayate, this pratyabhijnanam or paramarshaha is possible because that jnana samanya was there, we say. In general, consciousness alone was there, but it is shining, but there is nothing to be shined on, correct? The object which is lighted up is not there, but consciousness as light, as Swayam Jyotihi is always there. That's why even Upanishad and all makes it very clear. Pashyannapi na pashyati, like that. So this is there in the Brihadaranyaka, okay, in the Swayam Jyoti Brahmanam. And even it is even very clear, correct? Drashtuhu drishtehe viparilopaha na vidyate. So the sight of the seer never stops. Okay. So that is the beauty here. That is the consciousness we are talking about, and that is Nitya, that is Jnana Samanya. Further, Vishaya, Yat Kinchid Vishayaka Jnana Abhava Jnanasya Satyeva Tat Paramarsha Udaya. Also, what we say is that there is no particular Vishaya Jnana. That Abhava Jnana is still there, correct? I did not know anything. That Jnanam being there, only you are able to recollect it. Otherwise, even recollection is not possible. So, Yatkinchit Vishayaka Jnana Abhava Jnana. That I did not know any particular object while I was sleeping, that Jnanam is there. And that is what is recollected. That Paramarsha is there because of that only. Jagarepi tu Uchyamanam kimapi aham na janami iti vadataha Vishesha Jnana Abhavepi Samanya Jnanam Asti ityeva abhibagantavyam. Okay, now he is connecting it with a waking experience also. If somebody is saying something jumbled up, or their voice is not clear and all that, we say that I am not able to understand whatever you are saying, anything you have said. So here, that jnanam is there, correct? That samanya jnanam, that I am not able to understand anything what you said, but that what if I had understood whatever you have said, then I would have had vishesha jnana. So that vishesha jnana abhava in general is there, even while in waking state also, this kind of an experience is there. So like that similar experience we have to accept in sushupti, then only you can recollect it. So otherwise, what katham anyata tad uchyamana artha jnana abhave tad vakyam sashrota prayunjita. So if you don't accept this samanya jnanam, that samanya jnana also is not there, if you say, then that vakya itself cannot come from the one who is listening, correct? So therefore, what tasmad vishesha jnana abhavameva samanya jnanam grinhati. So the samanya jnana cognizes the absence of the vishesha jnana, we say, correct? The specific object cognitions are not there. That is cognized by the consciousness in general, and that has to be accepted. Natu samanya jnana abhavam vyagatat asiddhescha iti sustham. So, and also this samanya jnana itself is not there, if you say, then it will become uh, like, see, samanya jnanam abhavam. How can you even establish that? That cannot be established in any manner. Therefore, that samanya jnana is not there. That asiddhi of samanya jnana abhava is there. Therefore, this thing is well established, we can say. It has been, again, we have taken this up and we are showing that this paramarsha being there, that I did not know anything, that jnanam being there, that is the samanya jnana we talk about. Its abhava is there like that, nobody can say. Then it will become contradictory. Okay. So the samanya jnana abhava is contradictory and it cannot be established also. Asiddhescha iti sustham. Okay. Now what? Atha eduktam Ramanujanena. Now we are going into next discussion. Ramanuja has said something. What? Samvidaha janma abhavepi vinashaha asti eva. So he says the samvid. I think what do they mean by samvid is again dharma bhuta jnanam only, vritti jnanam. But anyway, there is a confusion. So samvid is not born, but its vinasha is there, he is saying. Okay. So we have to see where it has been said. But that is what he is saying here. And why ajasya prag abhavasya ajayaha vidyayascha nasha sadbhavaditi. Okay, the Nayayikas say that prag abhava is not born, but it comes to an end as soon as something is created. Similarly, you people also say avidya is anadi, unborn. We say anadi, but not unborn. There is a difference. We will talk about that. So, but he is saying avidya also being unborn, but it comes to an end. You people are saying. So, based on all these things, I say that even though samvid does not have a janma, but it has vinasha. No, that is not correct. That is false. Tad asat. Why? Okay. Janmadayaha shad bhava vikaraha eva na abhava vikaraha iti katam pragabhavasya janma shunyasya nashavatvam. So what we say is this janmadi shadbhava vikaraha. We say correct. Asti jayate. In fact, in that asti is the first thing. It has to be there first. Then only it can be born. Asti jayate, vardhate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyati. Like that, 6 things we say. That which is there, that which is born, then it grows, then it metamorphoses. We can say it attains adolescence and all that. Again, it grows old, then it dies. So like this 6 bhava vikara are called bhava vikara. They are all vikaras only for something which exists, and it is not abhava vikaraha. Therefore, praga bhava, which is abhava, doesn't have janma, neither can it have nasha and all that. Janma and nasha, etc., are only for bhava, not abhava. Also, if you say what yadi janmana alabdha sattakaha api pragabhavaha vinasham iyat tarhi sashashringadikam api vinashamiyat. So if you say the pragabhava, even though it did not get born and it does not have any astitvam, still it has vinasha. If you say, okay, vinashamiyat, it attains vinasha, destruction. Then you have to say even sashashringa, hairs on also, even though it is never born, it attains destruction. So it doesn't make any sense. You cannot say like that. Now we go to avidya. So first we take the case of pragabhava and dismiss that it has a destruction and all that, even though Nayayikas claim that it cannot be accepted. And then avidyayastu janma asti eva. Now avidya janma is there. Even though we call it anadi, We call it anadi because we don't know when it began. That's all. Okay. And there is a Shruti quotation also here. Maya cha avidya cha swayam eva bhavati iti. So there is a Nrisimha Uttara Tapaniya Upanishad is there. So this comes from there. Maya cha avidya cha swayam eva bhavati. So this avidya as swa para nirvahakaha. It is like that we say. Even it is coming, I think in the Sankshepa Shariraka also, Acharya talks about this. Or in the tradition, we say that avidya can, avidya establishes itself and also other things. Swapara nirvahakaha it is. Okay. But it is born that way. So swayameva bhavati. Why? Because avidya itself doesn't have any other karana. Although Brahman is there as adhisthana, Brahman cannot be really called as karana for avidya. So avidya is born along with all the everything else. That's what we have to say. So this maya, avidya and all, they have swapara nirvahakatvam. So maya cha avidya cha swayameva bhavati. This is Shruti. And tasyaha anaditva prasiddhihi tu parataha janma bhava prayukta. So he is making clear. But we do say avidya is anadi. That is very prasiddha. That is very popularly known. Why? Because it doesn't have any janma due to some other karana. Okay. Everything else you trace it back to maya or avidya. Okay. But the maya avidya itself is there. That's all. And it is born along with everything else we have to say. Nahi jagat avidyaya eva iva avidya kenachid utpadyate. Okay. So like jagat is born from avidya, jagat avidyaya. Jagat is coming from avidya or maya. But avidya is not born from anything. Okay. Jagat is born from avidya or maya, but avidya is not born from anything. Like that nobody can establish. And further, nacha avidyapi jagadiva brahmani eva asiditi katam parataha tasyaha janma bhavaha iti vachyam. Okay, so once we say this, that avidya is not born of anything else, that's why we call it anadi. The Purva Pakshi is saying now what? Avidyapi jagadeva brahmani eva asit. So everything has its adhisthana or pratishtha in Brahman. That being the case, how can you say that it is not born of Brahman and it has janma? It has janma abhava from something else like that. Okay, it is not born out of anything else. How can you say? Because Brahman is there and avidya also is in Brahman only. If you raise an objection like that, you cannot say that. Na vachyam, nacha avidya pi jagadiva brahmani eva asiditi katham parataha tasyaha janma abhava iti vachyam. Why? Brahmani jagad avidyataha asid avidyatu न तथा परतः आसीत् किंतु स्वतः एव आसीत् इति तस्मात् यस्य जन्म अभावः तस्य नाशाभावः यस्य जन्म अस्ति तस्य नाशः अवर्जनीयः. So this, why we say this? In Brahman, Jagat is born due to avidya. Without avidya or maya, there is no Jagat. And even Brahman being the Karanam, the Karanatvam for Brahman is also only due to maya. And once you know Maya, Jagat and all is Mithya, that Karanatvam also becomes Mithya from Brahman's own standpoint. It is neither Karanam, Karyam, nothing. Okay, you cannot attribute any of these states to Brahman. So, due to avidya, this Jagat is born in Brahman. But avidya is not born due to anything else in Brahman. But it is there in Brahman. Brahma Adhishtanatvam is there, but it is not born due to Brahman. We cannot impute that to Brahman. So that's what he is saying. Jagad avidyataha asid, avidyatuna tatha parataha asid. So avidya is not there due to anything else. Therefore, kintu swataha eva asit, it is there by itself, and therefore, but it has janma. So that which does not have any janma will not have any nasha also. And yasya janma asti, tasya nashaha avarjaniyaha, then that which is born, for that the destruction cannot be avoided. Okay, it will be there. And how can you say that? Means Gita, he is quoting. Ata eva jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu iti bhagavata Gitam. So Bhagavan has sung this. What? Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad apariharyerthe natvam shochitum arhasi. So in the second chapter, after he talks about the Atma Swarupa, and he establishes that from the standpoint of Atma Swarupa, you should not worry about killing all these people because Atma never born, never dies. But then he shifts the perspective and says that even if you consider all these people are born, then anything which is born is going to die anyway. So why are you worried about fighting these people? So jatasya dhruvo mrityuhu, dhruvam janma mritasya tasmad apariharyete. You cannot have any parihara for that. It is not in your hands. For whatever you cannot control, why are you worrying about it? Like this, Bhagavan tells, I think it is 228 or something around that place, this verse comes. So, from 12 to 27, I think, Bhagavan is talking about Atma Swarupa. And then he shifts the perspective. And then, even from a practical standpoint, all these people will die because anything which is born is going to die. Why are you worrying about things which are not under your control? In fact, most of the worries are like that. People don't know what they can change, what they cannot change, and they are worrying about things which they cannot change and don't do anything about what they can change really. So that is why that one prayer is there, correct? One prayer, the serenity prayer itself has this, I think. So you pray to God saying that you give me the discriminatory knowledge to know what I can change and what I cannot change, and then make me do whatever I can do to change the things which I can change. That's what one has to be clear about. Anyway, here, jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Bhagavan has said that. And therefore, avidya also has birth. It is not born from anything else. And therefore, we call it an anadi and all that. Because it is born, it will go away. Also, ata eva paramatmanaha avyayatvam prati anaditvam hetitva upanyastam bhagavata eva gitasu. Okay. Further, because of this only what? The Paramatma is avyaya. Means it never changes, it is never born. Okay. It never changes because it is beginningless. So to establish the Paramatma as avyaya, anaditvam is given as a hetu, he is saying. Where? In the 13th chapter. Anaditvat nirgunatvat paramatma yam avyayaha sharirasthopi kaunteya. Like that, Bhagavan, in the end of the 13th chapter, I think, 32 verse or something there. 32, 33, 34 and all is a nice set of verses are there. Okay. In the 13th chapter end, very beautiful verses. So, anaditvat nirgunatvat paramatmayam avyayaha sharirastopi kaunteya. Even though it is there in the sharira, it doesn't do anything, it doesn't get caught up in anything like that. Bhagavan beautifully reveals the Atma Swarupa there. So, this Paramatma is anadi and therefore it is avyaya. And it's also nirguna. Saguna means it cannot be avyaya because guna will change. Some guna will accrue, some guna will go away. All these things. So I don't know how even Vishishtadvaitins, they will say nirguna means it is nirheya guna and all that. I don't know. That's a very funny interpretation of that. So it doesn't have any guna which can which is fit to be given up. Means it doesn't have any bad qualities. Like this, they interpret nirguna, I think. It's a very funny interpretation anyway. So, anyway, so this is there in the 13th chapter also. So, that which is anadi means really it is beginningless, birthless, will be changeless, and it is also destructionless. It cannot have any destruction. Okay, further what? Kincha yad avidya aja tarhi tasya jagat naiva abhavishyate. So if avidya is really aja, then from that jagat cannot be born. Okay, because jagat being born means there is a some vyaya in the avidya, right? Some change is there. That's why we say maya avidya is parinami upadana karanam. There is a parinama is there. There is a change is there, vyaya is there. So it is not really avyaya. It is only avyak or avyakrita and all that we say. Initially it is avyakta, avyakrita. It is unmanifest, undifferentiated, but then it becomes differentiated. Means there is a change. It is not really avyaya. So avidya hi jagadatmana jayate yatha bijam ankuratmana. So avidya only is born as the jagat, like even the seed is born as the whatever the plant which comes out, correct? The sprout. Seed only sprouts. Like that, Jagat sprouts from this avidya, which is like bija. Evam jagadatmana jayamanayaha avidyayaha katam ajatvam. So how can this avidya which is born as the jagat, okay, in the form of jagat, how can it be aja? Okay, then once we say this, then he is saying, no, no, there is a shruti, ajam, ekam, lohita, krishna, all this in Shvetashvara, I think. So, nacha evam ajam iti shruti virodaha. So even though that ajam shruti is there, it is not against whatever we are saying is not against that. Why? Because that there the aja etc. is what tasyaha darshita ritya avidyayaha parataha janma abhava paratvat iti. So why we say that is that shruti is only saying that avidya is not born from something else. Okay, it doesn't have any other karana from which it is born. It is swataha eva bhavati, swayam eva bhavati. So that we already talked about that. So from that standpoint, that aja or anadi and all you have to understand. And it is not janma abhava paratva. It is not saying that janma itself is not there. It is not born from anything else. So once we say this, nacha evam brahma api ajam na syat. So Purva Pakshi is saying, no, if that is the case, in this manner, if you say that Brahman also is not aja really. Brahmanaha eva jagat rupena jatatvat iti vachyam. Okay, so iti. So Brahman also you cannot say is aja because all this jagat has come from only Brahman. If you say like that, you cannot say na vachyam. Why? Of course, as adhyaropa, Brahman is presented as jagat karanam. But that's what we are saying. The jagat karanatvam of Brahman is mayaya. Even in the Gita and all, it is very clearly said that mayaya alone, all srishti is done. Correct? So this maya avidya srishti, it is all. Therefore, there is no real causality in Brahman. And also there is specifically also it is said, correct? Again, this is Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Na tasya karyam karanam cha vidyate iti shrutya jagataha brahma akaryatvat. So Brahman doesn't have any, from the Paramartha Drishti, there is no Karya, there is no Karana, nothing for Brahman. Even though we say Sahasra Shirisha Purushaha, Sahasraksha, Sahasrapahat. So all the, it has so many heads, so many eyes, so many legs, etc. Ananta, Sahasra there means really Ananta, countless. But that is from the Vidya drishti or Jagat drishti, Vyavahara drishti. But Swataha, no karya, no karana. Karya here can be taken in two ways. Karya means it doesn't have any effects coming out of it, or it doesn't have anything to do. Karyam can also be taken as something to be done. Okay. Both meaning are fine here. It doesn't do anything really. Means it doesn't then produce anything also. And then nahi brahma vastutaha kinchit prati karanam karyam va bhavati advitiyatvat. Also Brahman does not in reality vastutaha, that's what he is saying, with reference to anything. Kinchit prati karanam karyam va bhavati. It is not really a karana, or it itself is not the effect of something else, and all these things. Those things are all not possible for Brahman because it is ekameva advitiyam. Advitiyatva. That alone is there always. Okay. So from the standpoint of rope, rope did not create any snake or anything. Understand that. But from the standpoint of snake, we have to say it is having rope adhisthana, or you can say rope avidya is the karana for snake appearance and all that. Avidya eva rope becomes karana for snake appearance. Swataha, from its own standpoint, it is neither karanam, it doesn't have any other karana or anything else. Okay. So that's what he is explaining that further. Maya tu brahmanaha jagat karanatva vyapadeshaha. So when we say jagat karanatvam for Brahman, because janmadhyasya yataha sutra and all is there. Yato va imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti. All these things, the Shruti Vakya is there. So Brahman is jagat karanam. But Mayaya tu Brahmanaha jagat karanatva vyapadeshaha tasmad ekameva brahma ajam nityam avyayam cha. So all this jagat karanatvam is Mayaya because it is a karana karya prakriya. Because this jagat is the sixth chapter of Chandogya also is beautifully presented, correct? Ekameva advitiyam sadvastu. But then tad aikshata, and then it becomes everything, all the elements and elementals. And again it is said tat satyam, sadeva satyam. Means that sat alone is satyam, everything else is mithya, the karya is mithya. The karana karya prakriya is used only to show the karya is mithya. Once the karya is mithya, the karanatvam of sadvastu also is mithya. It is all gone. It is all only mayaya. Therefore, Brahman alone is there. It is unborn. It transcends time. It is not subjected to time itself. Even time and space are all born from Brahman. Kalasyapi karanam Brahma. Therefore, ajo nitya shashvatoyam puranaha nahanyate hanyamane sharire. This comes in Kathopanishad and Bhagavad Gita also. Okay, in Kathopanishad it comes in a slightly different form, correct? Na jayate mriyate va vipaschite nayam kutaschinna babhuva kaschite ajo nitya shashvatoyam puranaha nahanyate hanyamane sharire. This is Kathopanishad. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायम भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः. Like that it comes in the Gita. But is ajo nitya shashvatoyam puranaha is there both in Kathopanishad and Gita. So iti shrutehe smritescha. So it is ajaha, it is nityaha, it is shashvataha. Okay. So tacha pratyaka bhinnam bhinnatve pratichaha api mithyatva prasangat. And also what? This Brahman is non-different from Pratyagatma. He cannot be different from this Pratyagatma because Pratyagatma is Jnanam and Brahman is also Satyam Jnanam Anantam. So it is not separate, it is identical to Pratyagatma, the self, inner self. But if you say no, there is a Paramatma and Jivatma, there is a difference. Pratyagatma is Jivatma, but Paramatma is sitting even there separately as Antaryami and all that. And you say there is a Bhinna. Bhinnatve pratichopi mithyatva prasanga. Then anything other than Brahman, Paramatma will become mithya. Okay. So whatever you say as Pratyagatma or Jivatma, which is separate from Paramatma, means that is also mithya. Brahman alone is Satyam. Okay. So Brahma Bhinnam Sarvamapi na Ajam Nacha Nityam. So it makes it clear. So anything other than Brahman is not Aja, it is not unborn, and therefore it is all not eternal. It's all subjected to time. Everything is born along with space and time, correct? And in space time. Napi avyayam iti mithyaiva, and they are also not unchanging. Anything in space time changes. It is subjected to time. Therefore, it is all mithya. And further, what anubhavascha brahmaiva iti na tasya janmadayaha vikara santi iti, and also anubhava is not separate from Brahman. Brahman is jnanam, nyapti, swarupam. Anubhava swarupa or anubhuti swarupa is Brahman. And therefore, they are all two words, that's all, are revealing the same vastu. Therefore, there is no difference in Anubhava and Brahman. They are identical. And therefore, Anubhava also does not have any Janma and doesn't have any Vikara, any change, etc. Once you say this, Anubhava doesn't have any change, then the Purvapakshi is excited. He thinks he is going to trap us. Okay. So now what? Nanu yadi Anubhavasya Janmadi Vikara Bhavaha Tarhi मम अयम अनुभवः जातः नष्टः इति व्यवहार इत्यादि व्यवहारः कथं सिद्धः. Okay, so he is asking, if you say anubhava does not have any birth, it is not born and doesn't change, all these things are not there for anubhava, then how do I have this? My experience was born and then that experience is gone. I had some experience and then that experience is gone. All this vyavahara is there in the transactional world. In this world, everybody's anubhava is like that. I had some specific experience and it is gone. Okay, katam siddhaha chet iti chet. Then what we say? How is this possible? He is asking. Then we say upadhi vashad iti uktameva. We have already said it is all due to upadhi. Okay. Then he is saying nanu uktameva. Okay, you have said it is upadhi vashad, but it is not tenable. He is saying parantu tanna upapadyate. It's not proper. Whatever you are saying, upadhi vashad brahman or anubhava is born, etc. We cannot accept that. Why? They have their own something here. Let us see. Tatahi. So in this context, whatever we are going to say now, what is that? Kim janmadayaha anubhuti vikaraha mitya bhutaha uta paramartha bhutaha. Okay, now they are asking the question. Okay, this janma, etc., which is there for experience, correct? That's why we say I had an experience and it is gone. Now that experience being born and being there and then going away, that all those changes are all mithya or they are all real. Really an experience is there, it was there for some time, it sustained and then it went away, it got destroyed. So that vikara, they are all mithya or satya, paramartha bhutaha. Okay. Now if you say they are all mithya, adye, then what? Kim anubhutehe eva te vikaraha mitya bhutaha uta ghatadehe api. So if you say this, you experienced a part. Now the part experience is mithya, you are saying. Okay. Now that whatever that the part experience is born, part experience is there, part experience is gone is mithya, if you say. But what about the part itself? Okay. The vikaras of part are real or not? Or only the part experience are mithya? He is asking. Now, if you say only the part experience is mithya, then part, the vikaras which are there in the part and all will become real, and your advaya will be gone. He says, okay, gatadi vikaranam paramartatvam syat adye. So if you take the first position, only the part experience being born, being there and being gone is mithya, then the parts being born, being there and getting destroyed will be real. Then there is no advaita. Dvitiye, if the second also is mithya, so then what? Janma adi vikaravatve vishaye ghatadi tulya eva bhavati anubhuti. Then what will happen? He says anubhava also will become like part. That itself will become mithya, he says. Okay. Then you are claiming that anubhuter-nityatva-upapattih is gone out of the window, because anubhava will now become like part, and therefore it will also become anitya. So whichever way you answer, you are trapped. Okay, that is their contention here. Okay, so now how do we answer this? Okay, in fact, it is not over. He is further saying, okay, yadi anubhuti vikaraha paramartha bhutaha. So to avoid this, if you say no, no, the anubhuti vikara are real. Okay, tarhi paramartataha brahmanaha advitiyatvam na syat. Then the Brahman will not be advitiya. Okay, because then you have to say anubhuti is separate from Brahman. That's what the Vishishtadvaitins say. They say that there is Brahman, but anubhava is something separate from Brahman. Okay, anubhava is only dharma bhuta jnanam for them, and your advitiyatvam is gone. Nasyat. Brahman, let it be aja, avyaya, etc. But anubhava is not like that. Okay. Based on all these things, what? Paramartha bhutaihi taihi brahmanaha sadvitiyatvatiti. So if the anubhuti vikaras are paramartha, then Brahman will become sadvitiya. So like this, they are giving an argument. Iti chet ma evam. If you say this, it is not in this manner, it is not like this. Why? Vikara matrasya mithyatvat. Anubhuti vikaraha iva gatadi vikaraha api mithyabhutaha eva. So this the vikaratvam, vikara, whatever is changing is mithya. There is no doubt in that. And the changes in the experience also, like gatadi vikaraha, they are all false. Mithya bhutaha. Okay, anubhuti vikaraha, iva gatadi vikaraha api mithya bhuta. Anything which is vikara is mithya. We accept that. Okay, vikara matrasya mithyatvat. Both the changes in the experience and the changing objects, all of them are mithya. But then there is a difference. Why? Parantu anubhuti vikaraha upadikaha. The anubhuti vikara is purely due to upadhi, due to the conditioning factor. Ghatadi vikaraha tu swabhavika. But the changes in the ghata, etc. are inherent in them. Correct? They are swabhavikaha. Iti tad visheshaha. There is a vishesha. Therefore, what? Tena na ghatadi taulyam anubhutehe. Therefore, ghata, etc. are not same as anubhuti. You said that Gata and Anubhuti will become Tulya. Okay, it will become same or similar. And then Anubhuti will become Mithya. Correct? That is not possible. Anubhuti is Satyam. Whatever Vikaras are there for that is Upadhi Vashat. Okay. So there is no Tulyatvam there. So that's what he is saying. Aupadhika Janmadi Vikaravati Anubhuti hi. So Anubhuti, for Anubhuti, any Vikara you talk about are all only due to the Upadhi. Aupadhika Janma, etc. is there for that. But Swabhavika Janmadi Vikaravan Ghatadihi iti. But for the Ghata, etc., it is Swabhavika, it is their nature, it is their inherent quality. And therefore, what Mithya Bhuta Visheshanantu na deyam Vikarasya Mithyatva Avyabhicharatiti. So, this Mithya Bhuta Visheshanam, whatever is there, is there. Okay. And Vikara and Mithyatva. Okay. They go together. Okay. So any change is Mithya. But this change, whether the change itself is real or not, that is what we are talking about, or whether it is inherently there or not, that we have to see. And when you see that change is only due to the conditioning factor, like that is why we say that it is like a reflection. There is a change in the reflection. Let it be, that is because of the reflecting media having a problem, correct? That doesn't affect the original bimba pratibimba. If you take, or even space, you can say space is limited by part. But that is only from the standpoint of part does not really limit the space or anything. Space is indivisible in reality, correct? So you can take the space example or the sun. Both are given even in the Gita. Okay. So in the 13th chapter end itself, Yata prakashayatyekaha krishnam lokamimam ravihi, and all that. And then even Akasha also is given as a example there. So it is all this vikara is only due to upadhi. And vikara is there for anubhuti also. There is no difference there. But the difference is that for one, the vikara is due to upadhi and it is mithya. For the other, it is swabhava. Okay. Therefore, it doesn't really affect the anubhutis nityatvam. Therefore, tasmad janmadi vikara vihina nitya swaprakasha ekacha samviditi siddhanta. So, what is the siddhanta? This janmadi vikara vihina only. So, it doesn't have any changes like being born, etc. And it is eternal, not subjected to time. It is swaprakasha. It is shining, self-revealing, self-existing, one entity, eka, this consciousness. That is the siddhanta. And there is no problem with this siddhanta. And we'll see the rest of the things in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी।